Is SoFi stock a millionaire maker? That's what we're going to discuss in today's video. Whether or not SoFi stock has the potential to make its investors into millionaires. There's been tons of YouTube videos talking about this topic, claiming that yes, SoFi can in fact make millionaires out of its investors. I came across an article recently asking this question, and the results that I discovered you're going to find very, very interesting. Let's get into the video. Stock market and SoFi investors, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing whether or not SoFi stock can make millionaires out of investors like you and I. A few days ago on The Motley Fool, Is SoFi Stock a Millionaire Maker? Was published by Courtney Carlson. She gets into many key points about whether or not this is an actual reality, right? So as we get more and more deeper into SoFi stock, the dramatic increase in deposits is going to allow this stock to continue to grow year after year and quarter after quarter. From 2022 to 2025, we're up to $27.26 billion worth of deposits, and that allows this company to make more and more loans, which helps them and us generate more profits, right? So she gets into the question, can SoFi stock become a millionaire maker for its investors? And like I said, most stocks don't do what Palantir did, go from $7 to $140. That valuation is absolutely out of control. And I love Palantir, but trading at a 600 PE is absolutely bonkers. They're pricing in like 2 decades worth of earnings. It makes no sense to me, but that's a topic for another day, right? So how long can it take? She comes up with the base number of $10,000. That's not a little amount of money, but it's not a huge amount of money either. So if you break it down and you put $10,000 into SoFi stock today, it's coming in at around $14 per share after that sell-off that happened today because of all the craziness that's going on with Iran and Israel, right? So let's take a look at an initial $10,000 investment. We want to get to $1 million. The duration that she says it's going to take 25 years to get there, and that's with a 20% compound annual growth rate. The last year, SoFi grew around 26%, right? So if we average this over 25 years, which is a freaking long time, right? Especially, say you're 30 years old, that would be 55 years of age with retirement on the horizon. But turning 10 grand into $1 million, that's a huge return on your investment. But is that actually realistic? And in my opinion, it's not. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Okay, so right now the stock is at $14 per share with a price to sales of around 6 times sales. Market cap around $16 billion. If you bought $10,000 worth of SoFi stock, you would get around 714 shares. At that compound annual growth rate around 20%, like we said before, it's going to take you 25 years, right? So that would mean you take this $1 million, you divide it by the stock price, and you get a really, really, really insane number, right? So the stock would have to go to $1,400 per share at your 714 shares to get to $1 million. In my opinion, that is completely unrealistic because listen, that would be a $1.6 trillion valuation. The biggest bank in America right now is JP Morgan, and they're coming in at a market cap around $736 billion. Obviously, with inflation, their number is going to be a lot higher 25 years from now. Excuse my scratching. My little puppy is going crazy in her crate. But there's no way in 25 years SoFi stock will be at a $1.6 trillion valuation. Guys, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. But there's a huge but. As you add more money to your initial deposit, it's about accumulating shares. So obviously the cheaper you get SoFi, the better chance of you of achieving these numbers, right? So we went from 10,000 to 20,000. To get to $1 million, that would take us 20 years at a very similar compound annual growth rate of 21.6%. I think that is an achievable number, but that's still a big number, guys. It is absolutely a big number. And obviously, you're going to have better years and then worse years, right? When it all evens out, you want around 20%. Because at $14 per share, at 20%, that's not a lot of money. So $14 per share, you take 10% of that, that's $1.40. You double it to $2.80. That would mean by the end of the first year, it would have to be like $16.80, which is, that's not a huge run. That's very easy to do. But it gets harder and harder as you make your way down the road towards that 20 years, right? And also, so I did 25,000, it's not much of a difference between 20 and 25,000 initial deposit. 20 years, 20.25% compound annual growth rate. This is 21.60. But the number that I found that is the sweet spot. The sweet spot to actually achieve a $1 million balance of SoFi stock is a initial deposit at this current stock price of $50,000. So at $50,000, we're going to have you want to come say hi? You want to come say hi? Oh, yay. Say hi to everyone. Say hi to all the SoFi investors. Say hi, say hi, say hi. Mwah. This is Lucy, guys, our new little puppy. All right, go be a puppy. Have some fun. Okay, so back to the video. $50,000 initial investment, right? And Lucy's crawling all over the place. Come on, you crazy pup. Go lay down. Go play with your toys. Okay, so at the $50,000, the final cost of $1 million, that duration is going to take us 15 years. Now let's move over to my spreadsheet so I can make some sense of all this, right? I know $50,000 seems like a lot of money, but it's more about the shares, right? You need to acquire about 3,500 shares. I think that's the sweet spot to actually get to $1 million in a great time frame of 15 years. If you're 30, by the time you're 45, you'll get to that $1 million if we can average a 22% compound annual growth rate, right? So in this process, we go from 3,571 shares to get to $1 million. We need a $280 stock price. That will give us a $320 billion valuation, which does make us, a top 5 bank. But again, that's 15 years down the road. So obviously all these banks in the top 15, from Charles Schwab and Citigroup all the way up to JP Morgan Chase, their market caps are going to continue to grow and grow and grow, right? So it's more realistic. It's probably like a top 15 with inflation and all that stuff, top 15 bank. I think that can be doable in the next 15 years, guys. So look, at $280 per share, that gives us a $320 billion market cap valuation, 3,571 shares. That gets us to that sweet spot number of $1 million in 15 years at a 22% compound annual growth rate. 22% is a big number over 15 years, but we were 26% last year, and if we could average from like 23%, somewhere in that range. Some years will be 24, some years will be 17. But if it all averages out to around 22% over 15 years, that's how you get to $1 million. So if you bought today at $14 per share, you would need around $50,000 investment to get there, guys. But if you bought in at $6, you know what I mean? It's going to make that $1 million price target a lot friggin' easier to get to, guys. So what do I think, guys? Is SoFi stock a millionaire maker? At only a $10,000 investment at this $14 price that it's currently at, I think it's virtually impossible. But it's more about the amount of shares that you acquire as opposed to how much money you're actually putting in. So if you can get SoFi at cheaper prices, right, at like $10, $8, $12, you're going to have a better chance of getting to that $1 million, right? In my opinion. And like I laid out for you guys, the $1 million with a 15-year duration and the 3,500 shares at $280 per share, that's a lot more realistic with a 22% compound annual growth rate. Still going to be tough to get there, don't get me wrong, but it is doable. But for me, the sweet spot number I laid out down here is 5,000 shares to accumulate at a $200 stock price within the next 10 to 15 years. I think that is a lot more realistic, and that's going to come in right around that 17 to 20% compound annual growth rate. And all these numbers, guys, do not include SoFi and CEO Anthony Noto buying back shares. That's what really launched Palantir into the freaking stratosphere, because they did what, a $1 billion stock repurchase program, right? So if something like that happens, all these numbers go out the window, right? Because as they buy back shares, our shares become more and more and more valuable. But I think that real sweet spot, if you can get your hands on 5,000 SoFi shares, I definitely think within the next 10 to 12 years, we're going to get to that $200 stock price, as long as we continue to grow year after year in that 17 to 23% range. I think these numbers are achievable, but that company has to continue to execute year after year in order for us to become millionaires. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. If you want more stock market content, more SoFi content, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. Peace.